Hello everyone, welcome to our online session. Today we are going to study 7th standard science NCERT chapter number 10 respiration in organisms. Now students, various activities we do, isn't it? Like walking, climbing the stairs, cycling, skipping, some other activities or different types of chores we are doing. In that, we sometimes dip faster, isn't it? Many a times what will happen? We respire fast, we breathe out fast, we need more energy while running after, isn't it? So, now in this chapter, we are going to understand few of these points. Now, the very first one, why do we respire? What is a breathing? Next one, why do we breathe? Why do we breathe out? Breathing in animals, what are their aspects? Breathing under water, what is that? Breathing under water we also understand over here. Do plants also respire? Plants को भी ज़रूरत होती है respire करने की. All these key points are going to cover in this session. Now, in our textbook, it is a given that one day Bujo was eagerly waiting to meet his grandparents. So he was in a real mood that he wanted to receive them, okay, from the bus stop or from the pickup point. So he ran fast and reached the bus stops in a few minutes because he is very eager to meet their grandparents. So he ran very heavily and fastly. He ran fast and reached the bus stop in a few minutes. He was breathing rapidly because he ran very fast to see breathes very rapidly. His grandparent asked him why he was breathing so fast because वो दौड़ के गया, भाग के गया, speedy, okay, उसने running fast की. So, but obvious, it's breathes also rapidly fasting. So, Bujo told them that he came running all the way. But the question was stuck in his mind. यहाँ पे एक हमारा question बनता है that he wondered why running makes a person breathe faster. दौड़ने से person क्यों breathe faster क्यों हो जाती है? Okay, why running makes the breathe faster? The answer to Bujo's question lies in the understanding that why we breathe. हमें breathing की क्यों ज़रूरत होती है? Why? What is that? Now breathing is a part of a respiration. Breathing is nothing but it's a part of a respiration. So we can say that breathing and respiration are the two different processes. Now breathing and respiration are the two different processes. As we understand, then breathing is a part of a respiration. So let us begin with this very first point. Why do we respire? Okay, why do we respire? So let's start with our question that why do we breathe? हमें क्यों breathe करने की ज़रूरत होती है? Why do we breathe? As we all know that you had understood in chapter number 2 that all the organisms are made up of a small microscopic scale, isn't it? So a cell is a smallest and basic, that is we can structural and functional unit of an organism. So cell is a basic unit of a life. Without a cell, life does not exist. Now each cell of an organism performs certain functions. कोई भी कोई functions करते ही रहते हैं cell, like nutrition, transportation, excretion, reproduction, energy, growth, etc. Isn't it? वो उसको चाहिए होता है nutrition. We had understand ना all this in chapter number 2. So to perform these all tasks, perform these all functions, cells need some energy. उसको energy की ज़रूरत होती है. Okay, so to perform these functions, the cell needs energy. Now even when we are eating, sleeping, riding, sitting, बट वेयर डज दिस एनर्जी कम फ्रॉम? हम इतना सारा डेली एक्टिविटीज करते हैं, ओके, so we need energy, so from where all this energy comes? Okay, you can also say from food also. The food has stored some energy which is released during respiration. Okay, जो हम खाना खाते हैं उसमें से वो एनर्जी स्टोर होती है and which is released during the or utilized during the respiration. Therefore all living organisms respire to get energy from the food. वो उसको फूड में से एनर्जी मिलती है and that is the reason your parents and teachers always insist you to take healthy food, okay, because these are such energies needed by your body to perform the different activities, different functional for your growth, okay. Now during breathing we breathe in air, as we all know we breathe our surrounding air. So you know that air contains oxygen and as well as various other components. We breathe out air which is rich in carbon dioxide. Okay, हम breathe out करते हैं वो air कैसी होती है? कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड की. So the air we breathe is transported to the all the parts of the body. वो body के पूरे parts में जाती है. Okay, and ultimately to the each cell, because cell is also a unit of the body. You all know na, cell, the group of cell makes a tissues, tissues makes an organ, organs makes an system, and one system, that is our body or particular plants, human body, animals, like this. Okay, so cell needs such types of basic energy for performing the different functions. So in the cells, now what happens in the cell? Cell को जब ये air मिली, okay, what happens in the cell? Oxygen in the air helps down to break down of food. ऑक्सीजन से वो फूड को ब्रेक डाउन करता है एंड द प्रोसेस ऑफ ब्रेक डाउन ऑफ फूड इन द सेल विद द रिलीज ऑफ एनर्जी, वो एनर्जी ऐसे ब्रेक डाउन करता है सेल को ऑक्सीजन में कि वो एनर्जी भी निकलती है. विद द रिलीज ऑफ द एनर्जी इज नॉन एज अ सेल्युलर रेस्पिरेशन. ओके, नाउ व्हाट इज दिस सेल्युलर रेस्पिरेशन? टेक्स प्लेस इन सेल ऑफ ऑल ऑर्गेनिजम्स, वेदर इट इज अ प्लांट, human body, animals, all the organism, microscopic, even microscopic organism. So you should keep in mind the process of breakdown of food in the cell में ही होता है. Okay, with the release of energy is known as a cellular respiration, and it is must for the all the cell of an organism for their growth and maintenance of their body. Now what happened in the cell? The food, or we can also say glucose, okay, in the cell the glucose is broken down into carbon dioxide and water using the oxygen. When the breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen is called the aerobic respiration. So we can say that there are two types of cellular respiration. There are two types of cellular respiration. Just look over here. The very first one is the aerobic respiration. Now what is this aerobic respiration? The food, or we can say glucose, is broken down in the presence of oxygen. Okay, now majority of all organisms performs aerobic respiration. So here you note down the equation. Glucose breaks down in the presence of oxygen. What release? Carbon dioxide plus water along with the energy. Okay, now the next, anaerobic respiration. Now what is this anaerobic respiration? Fluid, that is our glucose, is broken down in the absence of oxygen. Absence of oxygen, ऑक्सीजन के बगैर वो ब्रेक डाउन होता है तो भी वो एनर्जी तो रिलीज करता है, बट व्हाट? जस्ट लुक अलॉन्ग विद द इक्वेशन. ग्लूकोज इन द एब्सेंस ऑफ ऑक्सीजन रिलीज alcohol plus carbon dioxide along with the energy. So you can notice over here that in both the respiration, aerobic and anaerobic respiration, energy is released, must. Okay, now here is an example given. Yeast cell is a type of a organism which performs the anaerobic respiration, and you all know that yeast is used to make wine and beers, and yeast is a very single celled microorganism which respires anaerobically during the process to yield alcohol. alcohol बनाने की process में वो use होता है, which release. Okay, so these are the two types of aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Now, sometimes you will notice our muscle cells can also respire anaerobically. How? हमारे मसल्स के जो सेल्स होते हैं वो भी एनारोबिकली रेस्पायर करते हैं. हाउ? बट फॉर वेरी शॉर्ट टाइम. ओके, व्हेन देयर इज अ टेम्पररी डेफिशिएंसी ऑफ ऑक्सीजन, जब हमारे बॉडी में थोड़ा ऑक्सीजन की कमी हो जाए, टेम्पररी नॉट परमानेंट, टेम्पररी deficiency of oxygen. So at what time, at what we can say, during heavy exercise, fast running, cycling, walking, brisk walk, jumping, skipping, lifting, heavy weight lifting, etc. Okay, which these all activities, heavy activities demands high energy. जब भी काम ही हाई करते हो, ओके, तो उसके लिए एनर्जी भी हमें हाई लेवल की चाहिए. So we can say that, but the supply of oxygen to produce the energy is limited. पर एनर्जी लिमिटेड होती है, प्रोड्यूस तो होती है बट वो इन अ वेरी लिमिटेड स्पान. So then anaerobic respiration takes place in the muscle cells. Now to fulfill the demand of energy, वो एनर्जी को फुलफिल करता है, उसकी डिमांड होती है, उसको चाहिए होती है एनर्जी, इजंट इट, तो वो फुलफिल करता है रिक्वायरमेंट को. तो वी कैन से दैट हियर इज द नेक्स्ट equation that in anaerobic respiration our muscle cells also respire. So just look over here, glucose, that is our food, but obvious insufficient oxygen, जब उसको ऑक्सीजन की कमी कम हो जाती है, लगती है ऑक्सीजन की कमी, insufficient amount of oxygen, then it will release lactic acid with energy, lactic acid with energy. So in these three you can see must common, energy, energy and energy is must released. Okay, so many a times you can see, have you ever wonder that when you get muscle cramps while climbing or having cycling, your legs or some of your body parts make cramps, isn't it? So have you ever wonder why you get muscle cramps after heavy exercise? हमें दर्द होता है, पैर दर्द करते हैं, हाथ दर्द करते हैं, बैक दर्द करता है, isn't it? Back pain. After heavy exercise we feel cramps or pains. The cramps occurs when the muscle cell respire anaerobically. जब muscle cells में ऑक्सीजन की कमी होती है तब ये cramps समय और pain समय start होता है. So this is also called the partial breakdown. आधा partial. The partial breakdown of glucose produce lactic acid. So the accumulation of lactic acid causes muscle cramp. वो बॉडी में बढ़ जाता है, एक्यूमुलेशन होता है तो लैक्टिक एसिड के, तो वो हमें क्रैम्प्स होता है. सो many a times you had seen or you have noticed that when the person comes after a heavy exercise or heavy body ache, he or she takes a hot water bath, keeps their legs in a hot water or hot pack, ice packs, isn't it? All this, or massage their legs with some of the therapeutically oil to relieve from the cramp. So we get relief from the cramp after a hot water bath or a massage. Now can you guess why it is so? क्यों हमें hot water bath और massage से relief मिलती है? Just here is your answer. Hot water bath or massage improves the circulation of the blood. It improves the circulation of the blood, and as a result the supply of oxygen to the muscle increases. जब blood circulation बढ़ जाता है तो उसके साथ साथ ऑक्सीजन का भी लेवल इंक्रीज होता है सप्लाई होने में. So the increase in the supply of oxygen result in the complete breakdown of lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water, and again from the insufficient से वो presence of oxygen में चला जाता है, ऑक्सीजन carbon dioxide, water and energy is released. So this is about the cellular respiration and two types of respiration, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, with the breakdown of food in the absence of oxygen, and when the muscle cramps, okay, when their muscles cramps, when we feel some of the times muscles can also respire in the absence of oxygen, insufficient, we can say insufficient, absence तो पूरा नहीं बोल सके, insufficient amount of oxygen, at that time accumulation of the lactic acid released with the energy. So this is about this, why do we breathe? So this is the reason we need to breathe. Okay, now let's see next topic, that is breathing. 10.2 breathing. Now what is the breathing? Now, in breathing, inhalation, exhalation and breathing rate involves. Now, what is this breathing? As we all know that breathing means taking air rich in oxygen and throwing out air which is of carbon dioxide. So, we can say that the breathing means oxygen rich air enters through the respiratory organs and rich air throws out, which is a high amount of carbon dioxide throws out through the respiratory organ. So, we can say that inhalation and exhalation. So, we can say the taking of air is termed as inhalation. Taking of air rich in oxygen through a respiratory organ is known as inhalation, but obviously that respiratory organ is our nose, and throwing out air rich in carbon dioxide is known as exhalation. Now, these all are the such process which continues. Okay, this process continues, and the number, now what is the breathing rate? The number of times a person breathes in a minute. कितनी मिनट में वो कितना ब्रीथ करता है? So we can say the number of times a person breathes in a minute, it termed as a breathing rate. It is known as a breathing rate. Now, during breathing, that is inhalation and exhalation takes place alternately. Taking air in, removing out, okay, inhale, exhale. This process alternately, this process we cannot do together, okay, alternately हम ये प्रोसेस करते हैं ब्रीदिंग की. सो अ ब्रीथ मीन्स वन इनहेलेशन प्लस वन एक्सहेलेशन. एक बार इनहेल किया और एक बार एक्सहेल किया, दैट पूरी प्रोसेस को हम एक बार बोलेंगे ब्रीथ. ओके, एंड दीज आर द whether it is a constant or it changes according to the requirement of the oxygen as per our exercise. What type of task we are doing, we need oxygen or we breathe as per our activity. Here in our textbook, the activity 10.1 is given. Now, what you have to do? Before starting this activity, I will tell you that you have to perform, if you want to perform this activity, you have to perform in the presence of your or under the supervisor of your parents, as your teacher are not there. So, you have to perform. If you have to perform this activity under your guidance of your parents or under the supervision of your parents, it is strictly written over here in the textbook, that is a caution. Okay, now what you have to do? Now, close your nostrils and mouth tightly with these two fingers like this, mouth and two fingers tightly. Now, next step, keep like this as per you. जब तक आप अपनी ब्रीथ को होल्ड कर सकते हो तब तक आप ये पोजीशन पे कंटिन्यू करो. नाउ आफ्टर when you feel suffocation or some of the nervousness, you just remove the fingers from your nostrils and deep breathingly. So what you have noticed, what is the task? Which to show hold of breathing feels uneasiness. हम अपने नॉस्ट्रिल को ऐसे पकड़ के रखेंगे और मुंह को भी ऐसे टाइटली पैक कर देंगे. सो व्हाट हैपन्स फ्रॉम द नोज एंड फ्रॉम द माउथ, एयर डजंट एंटर, सो वी गेट ट्रबल or we feel uneasiness to breathe and we feel suffocation. So we should not do such types of things. Okay, some of the pranayams and exercise that are good, but for this just type of fun or entertainment, we should not go for such types of practice. And if you are interested to feel that what happens, is it really nervous or suffocation we feel, do this activity under the guidance or under the supervision of your parents. Now, let's move towards the next activity. So, activity 10.2 is that about to find the breathing rate under different conditions. Okay, in the textbook one table is given that normal breathing rate. Okay, normal after a brisk walk for 10 minutes, running fast 10 meter or at rest. You have to write the different breathing rate as per the different activities. So you can see that was normal walk, after brisk walk or fast walk 10 minutes, running exercise for fast about 100 meter, or a person is at rest. You will notice that these are the breathing rates are changes as per the activities changes. Normal, brisk walk, रनिंग फास्ट एंड एट रेस्ट, इन चारों की ब्रीदिंग रेट अलग अलग होगी, बिकॉज दैट एक्टिविटीज डिफरेंट एक्टिविटीज नीड्स डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ as per the demands of oxygen. Okay, now next activity 10.3 about to arrange the given activity pictures in their ascending orders of the rate of breathing. हमारे टेक्स्ट बुक में पेज नंबर 111 पे पिक्चर दिया है 10.3 वेरिएशन इन द ब्रीदिंग रेट ड्यूरिंग डिफरेंट एक्टिविटीज. नाउ सम ऑफ द पिक्चर्स आर दैट washing cloth, a person is sleeping, a person is walking, a girl is running, a person is climbing the staircase, a person is reading a book while sitting. Now these pictures you have to arrange in a ascending order as per their breathing rate. The very first picture is about a sleeping, it needs a low. Then sitting, a boy is sitting on a table or chair reading a book. Next, walking. Okay, then next number 4 is climbing, and number 6 is washing clothes. These all are needed as per their breath, as per their activities. The breath rates change, so we had arranged this task as per their ascending order of their breathing rate. Okay, now next we're going to study how do we breathe. Before starting how do we breathe, now we all know human respiratory system. Okay, human respiratory system we are knowing various organs are involved in the human respiratory system: nasal cavity, oral cavity, pharynx, trachea, lungs, ribs, diaphragm. So now let us understand a mechanism of breathing. वो breathing कैसे चलता है? Let's get started with this mechanism. It is a very interesting one. Normally we take in air through our nostrils. When we inhale air, it passes through our nostrils into the nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, the air reaches our lungs through the windpipe, or we can say trachea. वो रास्ता है जाने का air. ओके, इसोफेगस में फूड जाता है और विंड पाइप में विंड, दैट एयर वी इनहेल. लंग्स आर प्रेजेंट इन द चेस्ट कैविटी. यू कैन लुक एट द पिक्चर. ओके, द पिक्चर इज गिवन ओवर हियर, यू जस्ट लुक एट. दिस कैविटी इज सराउंडेड बाय द रिब्स ऑन द साइड. वी कैन से रिब केज. ओके, 12 pairs of ribs on both the side, 12 plus 12 24, and one main bone, that is a 25 rib cage. A large muscular sheet called diaphragm. Okay, diaphragm देखो एरो दिया है वहाँ पे, that is a diaphragm. What is this? A large muscular sheet, वो पूरी muscles की बनी हुई muscular sheet called diaphragm, which forms the floor of the chest cavity. वो chest cavity के नीचे की तरफ है. Now breathing involves the movement of diaphragm and rib cage. जब हम breathing करते हैं तो diaphragm की और rib cage की movement होती है. Now what happens? During inhalation, ribs move up and outwards and diaphragm moves down. जब हम inhale करते हैं, ओके, तो रिब्स है ना वो मूव अप होता है और बाहर की तरफ थोड़ा खींच जाता है. ओके, एंड डायफ्राम वो डाउन हो जाता है, वो नीचे की तरफ जाता है. एंड दिस मूवमेंट इंक्रीजेज द स्पेस इन आवर चेस्ट कैविटी, एंड हियर द एयर रशिश इनटू द लंग्स. वो एयर पूरे रश होके लंग्स में एंटर होती है. लंग्स में वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ बंच ऑफ ग्रेप्स लाइक एल्वियोली एंड एल्वियोर डक्ट्स आर देयर थ्रू विच एयर आर फिल्ड इन अ एयर सैक. वो एक बलून जैसा होता है, बंच ग्रेप जैसा, जिसमें वो एयर फिल्ड होती है. यू विल स्टडी दिस डिटेल अबाउट दिस इन अ नेक्स्ट सेशन. द लंग्स गेट फिल्ड विथ एयर. Okay, now during exhalation, now what happens during exhalation? Ribs move down and inward. Exhalation के टाइम पे ribs move down होते हैं और अंदर की तरफ सिकुड़ जाते हैं. While diaphragm क्या करता है? वो moves up हो जाता है, moves up to its former position. Now this reduces the size of the chest cavity and air pushed out. Okay, which we can say air exhaled from the lungs, pushed out of the lungs. Now this movement in our body can be felt easily. Okay, this movement is very easily, ये पूरे एकदम सिस्टम ब्रीदिंग की easily चलती है. You can also try. What you have to do? Take a deep breath. Keep your palm on the abdomen and feel the movement. Okay, you will find that when you breathe in, ribs move up and outwards and diaphragm moves down, and at this point the air accumulated in the lungs and which rushes to enter into the lungs through a windpipe, or we can say a trachea, वो रास्ता होता है. It's and during exhalation the process is totally reverse. Ribs moves down and inwards while diaphragm moves up. This you can notice. Okay, you have to just you can try this activity. Okay, take a deep breath and keep your palm on the abdomen and feel the movement of the abdomen. तब आपको पता चल जाएगा inhale और exhalation की process. So in here a human respiratory system is given. Now here one thing caution is written that smoking damages the lungs, because smoking is also linked to cancer and it must be avoided. Now here we are all knowing that air we breathe, okay, is around us by various unwanted particles. एयर के साथ कितने सारे अनवांटेड पार्टिकल्स होते हैं जिसको हमें चाहिए नहीं होता है. वी आर नॉट नीडेड एट ऑल. सो द एयर सराउंड अस हैज अ वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ अनवांटेड पार्टिकल्स सच एज स्मोक, डस्ट, pollen, etc. When we inhale, the particles get trapped in the hair present in our nasal cavity. You will notice that some of their hairs are also present in our nasal cavity. Now what happens? However, sometimes these particles may get passed in the hair in the nasal cavity, and this may irritate the lining of the chest cavity. So as a result of which we sneeze or sneeze expels these foreign particles, okay, from inhaled air, and due to the free and clean air enters in our body. And another function of the hair present in our nose is to filter, okay, which we can say a filter pure hairs, and unwanted or some of these particles may get trapped, okay, when we remove the waste or we also sneeze, okay. So you have to take care nowadays, must, when you sneeze you should cover your nose so that the foreign particles which you expelled through your sneezing should not inhaled by other person. So wherever you feel like sneezing, you should cover your nose with a handkerchief or some of the tissue paper. So you can see in the picture also that human respiratory system involves with this nasal cavity, oral cavity, pharynx, trachea, or we can say windpipe. Trachea, you can see like a C-shaped cartilage. Trachea is a C-shaped cartilage, and lungs and rib cage. In one of the lungs, two of the lungs, internal structure of the lungs and outer structure of the lungs are given, and ribs, okay, both the side ribs are there, and diaphragm, which is lays in the muscular sheet below of the floor. So this is about that how do we breathe. As we understand that inhale and exhalation, breathing rate difference, okay, in different activities, and also we understand about the human respiratory system. So you can try out this activity with the 10.4 and 10.5, which sees inhalation and exhalation, which is diaphragm moves up and diaphragm moves down. And the next activity is about a model, okay. 10.6 is about a model to show the mechanism of a breathing with the help of two plastic bottles. You can easily make out at your home in this free time. You will enjoy definitely. What you have to do here, you have to take a plastic or slender test tube or a glass or plastic bottles and make a hole in it and fix tightly a cork. You can look at the picture also. And with the straw you have to tie it with the balloon. You have to wrap the balloons, plastic bottles, and also down a rubber sheet is there. So when the air you expel, okay, at that time both the balloons, air where air rushes, both the balloons are flattened, okay, वो full जाएगा. When the air is from the cork you would push out, the air will remove out, okay. So what is this? Actually this activity shows us, this model shows us what is this. In this मॉडल, प्लास्टिक बॉटल रिप्रेजेंट योर चेस्ट कैविटी, प्लास्टिक बॉटल है ना वो आपकी चेस्ट कैविटी है, ओके। एंड द बलून्स रिप्रेजेंट द लंग्स, बलून्स में लंग्स, आपको लंग्स समझना पड़ेगा क्योंकि एयर इसमें फिल्ड होती है। एंड द रबर शीट विच इज लाइंग डाउन, नीचे जो प्लास्टिक की रबर शीट है ना वो आपको डायाफ्राम समझना पड़ेगा। सो यू कैन इजीली अंडरस्टैंड दिस mechanism. In the previous picture also you had all seen the human respiratory system. In this you can also see this model which is given in your textbook. Now next, what do we breathe out? What do we breathe out? हम क्या बाहर निकालते हैं वो हमें पता है कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, बट if we want to test scientifically, okay, what you have to do? You have to do just a thing. You have to take one test tube, lead lime water solution, okay, lime water solution आपको लेना है, फिर उनको उसमें फिल करना है with the help of a straw. You just passing the air, so you make some bubbles. So what you will see, okay, what you will see, blow gently through the straw for a few minutes से straws में gently blow करना. What you will see now, colorless lime water becomes milky. Lime water turns milky because it is a seen that lime water shows the presence of carbon dioxide, and that is the reason the lime water turns to milky. And here the percentage of O2 and CO2 in inhaled and exhaled air are different. So let's see, these are our lungs, okay. Just we'll see about the inhaled air. हम जितनी एयर लेते हैं उसमें 21% ऑफ ऑक्सीजन होता है, ओके, एंड बाहर कितना निकालते हैं 0.04% ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इसमें होता है साथ में. व्हेन वी एक्सेल, ओके, एक्सेल करते हैं तब 16.4% ऑफ ऑक्सीजन अलॉन्ग विद द 4.4% ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. This is about the lungs in which inhaled air and exhaled air presence of amount percentage of carbon dioxide and along with the carbon dioxide oxygen inhaled, exhaled, carbon dioxide inhaled and exhaled. You can just see over here. After understanding the breathing in human, now let us understand this breathing in different animals. What are the types of breathing, from which are their respiratory organs are there? The very first organism over here is a cockroach, is given in our textbook. Now what is that? A cockroach has a small openings on the side of its body. Other insects also have similar openings. You can also see the picture, okay. Now these openings are called spiracles. Spiracles होते हैं उसको, जो insects के वो network होता है air tubes, okay. It have a network of air tubes which are also known as a trachea. हमने वहाँ पे देखा विंड पाइप को ट्रेकिया भी बोल सके, वो एक रास्ता है ट्रेक है. Here over here also spiracles, okay. Insects have a network of air tubes. Air tubes को network को बोल सकते हैं trachea for the exchange of gases like O2 and CO2. Now oxygen air rich into air rushes through the spiracles into tracheal tubes and diffuse, वहाँ पे वो diffuse होता है into the body tissues, उसके tissues पे वो diffuse होता है. And similarly the carbon dioxide from the body tissues cells goes out into tracheal tubes and moves through the spiracle thrown out. Now these air tubes or trachea are found only in the insects, वो सिर्फ insects में ही पाए जाते हैं, and not in any other group of animals. So ये आपको याद रखना है, जो स्पाइरेकल्स और एयर ट्यूब्स होते हैं ना वो इंसेक्ट्स में ही होते हैं, ओके. ट्रेकिया और एयर ट्यूब्स नेटवर्क वो इंसेक्ट्स में होते हैं, नॉट एनी अदर ग्रुप ऑफ एनिमल. नाउ यू कैन ऑल्सो सी द पिक्चर ऑफ द ट्रेकियल सिस्टम स्पाइरेकल्स. आफ्टर कॉकरोच, लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड द वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग phenomenon of breathing in earthworms. Now you had seen that earthworms breathe through their skin. You are might be knowing or not knowing, but we can say that earthworms breathe through their skin. The skin, because the skin of the earthworm feels moist or slippery. वो उसकी स्किन moist होती है. आप earthworm को कभी टच करके देखना कि उसकी स्किन moist होती है. Some of the water are present, you can say, okay, moist and slimy on touching, and gases can easily pass through them. उसकी स्किन मॉइस्ट होती है तो वो स्किन से वो गैसेस इजीली पास होते हैं. तो यू कैन ऑल्सो से दैट थ्रू द फ्रॉग्स दे हैव अ पेयर ऑफ लंग्स लाइक ह्यूमन बींग्स. दे कैन ऑल्सो ब्रीथ आउट देयर स्किन, ओके, विच इज़ मोस्ट स्लिपरी. अर्थवॉर्म्स एंड फ्रॉग्स वो पानी में भी रह के वो कर सकते हैं ब्रीदिंग, और वो लैंड में भी, बिकॉज लैंड में होते हैं तो उसके पास क्या होता है, स्किन होती है जिससे वो गैस एक्सचेंज होता है. ओके, so this is about the earthworms. Now the next topic is about the breathing under water. Now breathing under water, one of the very aquatic creatures we are having. Okay, can we breathe and survive in a water? Now there are many organisms live in water, we call aquatic creatures. Now how they breathe in water? You have studied in standard 6 that gills in the fish helps them to supply, okay, to use the oxygen which is dissolved in a water. वाटर में जो ऑक्सीजन होता है ना, गिल्स उसको लेने में हेल्प करता है. Now what is this gills? Look in the picture, the arrows are given of the gills. Now what is this gills? Gills are the projections of the skin. वो स्किन की प्रोजेक्शंस होती है, ओके, विच यू हैव सीन. ओके, यू माइट बी वंडर हाउ गिल्स हेल्प इन ब्रीदिंग. क्यों गिल्स उसको ब्रीदिंग के लिए हेल्प करते? बिकॉज गिल्स आर वेल सप्लाइड विद द ब्लड वेसल्स. वो ब्लड वेसल्स उसमें होते हैं तो इजीली दे कैन टेक ऑक्सीजन विच इज डिजोल्व्ड इन द वाटर फॉर अ एक्सचेंज ऑफ gases. They use gills, that is their organ. Okay, now next about, do plants also respire? आपने सुना होगा कि प्लांट्स भी रेस्पायर करते हैं. ऑक्सीजन सुबह में बाहर निकालते हैं, रात में कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. प्लांट रेस्पायर्स ऑल डे. Okay, just have a look. Like other organism, plants also respire for their survival. मैंने बोला था ना कि सेल होते हैं तो ब्रीदिंग होगी, फूड ब्रेकडाउन ऑफ फूड होगा, एनर्जी रिलीज होगी. Isn't it so? Plants also need such types of energy and they also conduct a respiration. Okay, so like other living organism, plants also respire for their survival, as you have learned. Okay, now they also take in oxygen from the air and give out carbon dioxide. So what happens in the cell? In the cell, oxygen is used to break down of glucose into carbon dioxide and water, as in other organisms of the plants, and each part can independently get oxygen. Each part of the plant can get independently oxygen from the air and give out carbon dioxide, and the same in the night, reverse. So like all other organisms, living cells of the plants, the root cells also need oxygen to generate energy. The roots के जो सेल होती है ना उसको भी चाहिए होता है energy which is generated. Now roots take up air from the air spaces which is present between the soil particles and supply it to the every part of the plant. You can also see in the potted plants. Now this about all these things about in this chapter. Now in this chapter we had learned that respiration is a vital biological process. It is a very important process. सब बॉडी में सेल होते हैं बट ब्रीदिंग तो लाइफ सर्वाइव नहीं होगी. सो बायोलॉजिकल प्रोसेस के टर्म से बोलते हैं तो ये रेस्पिरेशन है, इट इज़ अ वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट विच प्लेज एन वाइटल रोल इन द बायोलॉजिकल process. Now all organisms need to respire. सभी organisms को respire की ज़रूरत होती है to get the energy which is needed for their survival. And with this energy we had understand in the two process, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So this is about this chapter. I hope you understand this chapter. Thank you.